Infrastructure is crumbling and the problems are only getting worse. The pressure to find solutions is hot. Let's talk about why American cities have no water, no electricity, and no money to fix their infrastructure problems. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast, hosted by Chad Smeltzer.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. My name is Chad Smeltzer. I am your host. I hope you're enjoying our episodes. This is Series 1, going to be Episode 3, where we interview our special guest, Alex Churchill, who is the CEO and co-founder of InfoSense Incorporated, which is located in Charlotte, North Carolina. They've been in business for roughly 11 years and employ around 20 people. They manufacture and support their patented award-winning sewer line rapid assessment tool called the SL-RAT, and its associated data management platform, the Sewer Line Data Organizer, or SL-DOG. Their technology helps optimize sewer cleaning programs for municipal collection system operators. And a quickly little overview of their technology: they use a transmitter receiver, send it the sound through a sanitary sewer pipe in under 180 seconds, can tell you whether the pipe is clean or blocked. Pretty amazing technology. They've inspected over 400 million feet of sanitary sewer pipes, and they work with over 1,000 municipalities, helping them prioritize their collection systems. With that being said, here's our interview. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and follow us on our social channels. Have a great day. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat. My name is Chad Smeltzer. I'm the CEO of BigPyramid.com. Today, we have our guest, Alex Churchill, who is the co-owner and CEO of InfoSense. Alex, please introduce yourself and tell our audience more about what you do.
Yeah, so thanks, Chad, for having me on today. Again, my name is Alex Churchill, and InfoSense, we're a Charlotte, North Carolina-based manufacturer of a product called the Sewer Line Rapid Assessment Tool. And I became involved with the company back in 2011. So it's been 11 years now that I've been working with my partner, Dr. Ivan Howitt, the inventor of the technology that we have. And yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I got in the industry.
So let's go back a little bit before you got into the sewer condition assessment world. You and I have obviously had a history together. We worked together and sold iTrack or here I go, SL-RATs together. We need to work on that. We'll edit that out.
You were selling the eye trackers.
Yeah, we're selling both, but we started selling SL-RATs back in 2016. And before that, you invested in real estate. Is that correct, or was that what was your background before we got into it?
I mean, I do have some real estate investments, but not like that was George's main business.
Okay, that was one of the other
Yeah. So how I got into this, I had gotten an MBA and worked for a consulting firm for a few years, and realized that I didn't like writing PowerPoint decks for people. I really liked actually getting stuff done, and left there and took an operating role with a company called Blue Rhino, propane tank exchange company. And we were growing about 40% a year at the time. And I ran their largest distributorship, and eventually took over all their manufacturing plants. We had 9 plants that refurbished and refilled about 15 million propane tanks a year around the country. Wow. And had responsibility for all of that. And we sold the company to Ferrellgas, a propane propane distributor. And soon after that happened, I had a chance to take a bigger role at a company called Allied Waste, garbage company. So I went from propane to garbage.
Wow.
And was the market president for North and South Carolina for Allied Waste. So we had the largest landfill in North Carolina, the largest landfill in South Carolina, had about 800 people that worked for me there. Wow. And when Allied merged with Republic a few years later, I took a severance package, left, and decided that I wanted to go out and do something on my own, and was looking at buying a company, looked at several opportunities.
Yeah.
And got involved with an angel investment fund in Charlotte that at the time was called the Inception Micro Angel Fund, but is now they're on their fourth fund at this point. Shows how long I've been doing this. So Charlotte Angel Fund 3 is being funded now. So I got involved with that, and the guy who was running it at the time was involved with the UNC Charlotte's Office of Technology Transfer. And he said, I know you like weird industrial stuff. And I know this crazy genius professor who's got this great technology, and you guys should meet. And so he set up for me and Ivan to meet in a coffee shop up by UNC Charlotte. And we had a 4 hour meeting
Wow.
that went through all the stuff Ivan had done in very academic terms.
Yeah.
And when we got around to things like, how much you're going to charge for it, or how are you going to bring this to market, he said, I don't know. That's what I need you for. And so, or that's what I need someone like you for.
Right.
And so he and I, I wasn't sure he had a viable business. He wasn't sure, or a viable product. He wasn't sure that I was someone he wanted to work with. And so I said, I'll spend some time helping you develop some financial models and a market analysis and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at the time anticipated, which I'd been down this road multiple times. I have been down this road many times. You find a lot of these ideas, especially early stage ideas, are not viable for whatever reason. It's very hard to thread the needle to come up with an idea that can
Right.
solve a problem and make money
Right.
and be an attractive investment. And so I was just 6 months in, was still amazed that Ivan and I still liked each other and it looked like a viable idea.
Right.
And we ended up taking on another guy, George Salembo, as another partner. And the three of us developed the current version of the technology. It was really Ivan developed it, but the three of us kind of worked together to take this to the commercialization phase. And
Wow.
in 2012, we released the first SO rat. So
2012. So a little bit of 10 years ago, right? That's if my math's correct. 10 years ago, you launched the SO Rat. And to be honest with you, Alex, it's revolutionized the sewer industry. And it's funny that you went from waste management, propane to waste management, the sewers. So
mhm.
that's very unique. So it's funny.
Everything I've worked with since I've left consulting has smelled bad.
Well, it's
Propane, garbage, and sewers. Yes, and the good part is that I don't have a great sense of smell,
oh,
so it's a great fit for me. All three of them.
that's very helpful. That's very a good thing not to have a good sense
Mm.
of smell at this point when you're in sewers. So going back, so Ivan, you met with Ivan. You didn't know if the product had product market fit. You probably didn't know a lot about the sewer space in general. So I would assume that as an investor, you look at things. Uh, how do you evaluate businesses? Like how do you, obviously you said you spent 6 months with him to kind of make sure you guys work together as a marriage. And I think this is very important for just people as, starting a company and figuring out how investment works. How do you look at and evaluate a company before kind of dive in? I know you spent 6 months, but obviously you may have put money into this. Like what made you get to that point?
So I think at some point it all boils down to a financial model. I mean, I hate to say that, just you have to look at free cash flow and what you think it's going to generate, but it does all at some level boil down to that. But there's so many factors that go into projecting what you think that cash flow will be. You
Yeah.
have to know. And in a startup or early stage company, you have to make a lot of assumptions about how much you're going to charge for the product, if you're even going to sell the product, or you have such a wide open space
Hmm.
that you've got a lot of options that you've got to pare down to what you're actually going to try, and then you have to test.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's just a matter of looking at the revenue side and trying to figure out where that can go, how quickly you can reasonably grow it, what the value of the product is to the end user,
Yeah.
and how can you value price it, and then you have to look at all the mechanics of what's your cost of goods, what's the capital investment required, what's your acquisition cost. Your customer acquisition cost has become a big metric over the last few years, which I would say it was less pronounced 10 or 12 years ago. I think the software world has really highlighted that customer acquisition cost
Right.
component. And then there's other things. Can you find network effects in this product? Can the more you sell, is there more value to what you do? And I don't know that that's applicable in our case, but in something like um, an iPhone or some of these other products, especially with software, there's a lot of network opportunities or network effects that make it, the more users you have on the platform, like Facebook, the more valuable it is, or LinkedIn, if
Yeah.
you're familiar with LinkedIn.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very much so. Yeah. It's a great resource for networking.
Yeah, and I think when I started working with Ivan, certainly was a major problem, and the solution had it was 10 to 20 times faster, 10 to 20 times cheaper than the
Right.
alternatives. It checked a lot of boxes for what it would be able to accomplish for the end user. The go-to-market strategy, has turned out to be the bigger challenge. It's just a B2G is a tough industry, and selling city by city or municipality by municipality is hard, and that customer acquisition cost is high. And we had a lot of wiggle room built into our model. And there's an old venture capital idiom that if you double the amount of time it will take, cut the revenue in half, and double the expenses, if it still looks like a viable business, then you might have something. And I would say from our original projections, that's very accurate to what we've actually experienced. It's taken twice as long, it's cost twice as much, and
Yeah.
I think we have a viable business, but there's a lot of ones. If you can't pass that test, your chance as a technology startup, it's going to be a much harder needle to thread.
Right. Right. Because you're taking a hardware device and then you guys have a software component that you probably originally didn't think about, or was the SL dog technology a kind of an addition, or did you grow into that?
So I think this was all thought of. uh, we have been far ahead of our customer for many years,
Ah,
and we have had to back off of what we wanted to do to stay uh, in a position where we could commercially take stuff out to our end user.
got it.
And so when we first started doing this, there was certainly talk of doing this as a service and charging for it as a service, treating it almost as a software,
Right.
which is really the intellectual property that we have. That's what people are buying. But in our industry, that was such a paradigm shift. We were already shifting the paradigm of how they clean their sewer system. To shift the model of how they bought something, it was too far. And
Yeah.
so in our case, a lot of these things we've had to dial back from the original vision to something that's more acceptable in the market at this point. And so when you talk about the SL Dog portal that we have, the sewer line data organizer,
Yep.
that piece was envisioned from the beginning. The core infrastructure of that has existed uh, since the device has been around. We've made a lot of enhancements and functionality improvements and reporting improvements, but the core base of it, uh, we haven't finished building out all of the core vision that went with it.
Yeah.
10 years ago when Ivan invented it.
What, when you and Ivan obviously team up, you're working together for 6 months. Was there ever moments where you guys just thought like this thing's not going to work?
Ivan and I have always worked very well together. I think if we had gotten to that point, it's not that we don't argue or have different opinions, but
Right.
I think he and I both have a fact based engineering background.
Nice.
And in my experience, when people get to the point when you're arguing about stuff or things at a certain point, number one, you need to not get emotional about it.
Right.
And when you're talking about sewers, it's somewhat easier to stay emotionally unattached from things. But there's certainly keeping the emotions out of things and getting facts, and that's what he and I found. I would say almost invariably when he and I have had some sort of disagreement, I won't need to say argument. I don't know if we've really ever argued, but
Right.
we've had a disagreement. It comes down to we don't have all the information we need to make a decision. And so then we have to decide how do we gather that information or how do we do an experiment
Right.
to try that out. And it could be trying something in the market, it could be releasing a new feature in the firmware of our product and seeing if people will use it or value it or so on, and then based on what we learn from that, figuring out what the next step is. And so I think I can't think of a time that we haven't been aligned.
Oh, that's very important. You always have to be in line with your team and the the, the direction of the company, where it's going to go, and things like that. Now, you are creating the SL-RAT, which is a sewer line rapid assessment tool, right? And you're ready 10 years ago, right? When did you
Mhm.
guys realize that you're disrupting a really massive market that's controlled by CCTV and cleaning companies? When did you guys realize that you were innovating
we
this thing?
Yeah, so we knew that from the beginning, and
Okay.
I think that the what made me interested in working with Ivan as an academic was the fact that he had a customer. So he had been working with the city of Charlotte for when I met him. He had been working with them for almost 6 years,
Okay.
and so he had close relationships with people there. They had been intimately involved with developing the technology and not necessarily the intellectual property, but providing the customer feedback. He could go create something, take it to them. They would try it, and if it worked, they would say, "That's great." If they didn't like it, they would tell him,
Right.
and he could go back to iterate to try to improve upon whatever that feedback was.
Right.
And so the fact that he had a customer already, I also had a chance to meet with a customer. And so I had people there saying, "This is going to revolutionize our industry. You guys, this is an amazing product." The challenge is for us has been getting other non-users to see the value of it and to see the changes that it creates. But it does cause a ripple effect through the whole uh, maintenance of your collection system. Your
Right.
wastewater collection system has gone over the years from reactive maintenance, where people only did maintenance when a run to failure model, where you waited for the pipe
So,
to block up with roots or to collapse or what have you, and you waited for the phone call from the people with the sewage in their basement, and then you went out and fixed that problem, and then you went back to the shop or you went to fix the next problem somebody had called about, but you weren't proactive, and that began to end, I would say, with the Clean Water Act,
yep.
and as the Clean Water Act of 1972. It's the year I was born, and 50 years. I'm getting old, and the act is 50 years old, and it still hasn't been fully implemented.
You
So,
don't look 50. That's good.
well, thanks. When you look at that, it's an amazing piece of legislation. That 50 years later, it still hasn't been fully rolled out or fully implemented, and there's people still trying to comply with the regulations and requirements that it created.
Right.
And I think our country is better for that. But I think when you look at the industry, that changed from the reactive maintenance to people saying, "I need to do something," and time based maintenance was the next way to look at things. So I'm going to
Right.
look at this sewer pipe every 5 years, or I'm going to look at it every 10 years, and I'm going to clean it, or I'm going to do something with it on some sort of time based schedule. And that's been a long term transition. And I would say my experience here in the US that probably 70% of utilities at this point have 70+% have some sort of time based maintenance program. There's another 20 to 30% that are still reactive.
Yeah.
Those are, I'll say, concentrated in places that have less aggressive state regulators in a lot of cases,
Yeah.
and where sometimes newer systems or smaller systems. But for the most part, most utilities have migrated to a time based protocol. And when you talk about disruptive, the SL-RAT takes the technology from a time-based program to a condition-based protocol where you're trying to clean the right pipe at the right time, and
Right.
that that uh, that changes how you deploy your CCTV equipment peripherally, but it really changes how you deploy your cleaning trucks, and
Right.
it helps you figure out as an operator, where do I need to put my cleaning truck tomorrow or next week, and
Right.
that's really what this equipment is meant to do. So.
Yeah, that's just from my experience working with you and the SO Rat back in 2016, 15, whenever we started, uh, I got introduced to it. I immediately it clicked like how revolutionary this technology is going to be for the industry. And it went to our second startup with Midwest Water Group. It's like we
Mhm.
were like, let's use this thing, start inspecting sewers faster, finding the problem so that we could reduce cost, increase your predictability of where you're going to have backups, find the problems faster, and then not waste time and money on expensive cleaning and jetting equipment, as well as CCTV equipment, which is, a CCTV camera is $75,000, for example. You're putting that in a sewer that's going to get stuck. It's going to get damaged. It's going to get broke at some point in time. It's going to happen, and it happens all the time. And then you have the jetting trucks that are throwing thousands of gallons of clean water into a sewer pipe to get it opened up, where the SL Rat is sitting there as acoustic, sending sound through the pipe, evaluating it, and giving you a score whether it's blocked or not. And it's going through 20,000 feet in a day. That's the kind of stuff that's amazing. So, are you getting feedback on your end?
No, it was
Okay.
my phone ringing.
Oh,
Sorry,
got it, got it, got it.
I
So
had to
no
turn
worries.
off my mute.
All good. So my point is I loved the technology, and I knew, and obviously I knew it was going to revolutionize a lot of what's happening now. And you can see where EPA's approved your SLRAT technology as a condition assessment tool, for inspecting sewer pipe. Can we talk a little bit more about the problems with cities right now, what they're dealing with, and where the InfoSense technology is helping them?
Yeah, and so maybe if we can back up, I'd love to say the EPA has approved it, but I would say more that the EPA would accept this as part of an overall maintenance program. And so
Right.
when you really look back from a regulatory standpoint, there's a lot of people that think the CCTV is the only approved technology, or that some particular type of flow meter is the only approved type of flow meter,
Right.
or
Right.
whatever. But really, from a regulatory standpoint, they're not prescriptive enough to tell you what equipment, what tools to use. They have an outcome that they're looking for you to generate,
Right.
and looking for you to create a plan that seems reasonable to help achieve that objective. And this has been accepted in many consent orders across the country with the EPA, also at the state level, but it's also been used as part of California SSMP plans,
Yeah.
and in Texas with SSOI plans, and it's been incorporated into a lot of CMOM
It's
programs.
amazing.
And so I think as long as you have a plan for how to use it, I haven't seen where it hasn't been accepted from a regulatory standpoint. But
Right.
it's not there. There is no approved
Approved.
technology that people can just go pull off the shelf that is regulator approved. So
True. True. Good point. Good point. Yeah. Look, I think it's, my passion about it. I think it's a great tool, and it should be approved. It's just every city should have one. That's just the way it should be. If you don't, then you're just wasting time and money on your collection system. You were going to say something about the problems within the cities that were,
yes, so
yeah.
that was, yeah. We got we. I just wanted to back up on that one point, but yeah.
Sure.
So
No worries.
the issues, we have people out in hundreds of municipalities a year, and even around the world, we've got customers. About 10% of our customer base is outside the U.S. And Canada. I'll say the U.S. and Canada are 90%. The other 10% are in other places, but what we universally see is that our customers don't have enough staff right now. There's staff shortages in all industries, but in this municipalities, working in sewers is not the most glamorous job.
Right.
Local governments don't always pay the highest, have the highest pay rates, although often they have excellent benefits packages and long-term pensions. That's not always going to attract the hourly folks that are out doing the work in the field. And so we almost universally see municipalities that are understaffed,
Right.
or uh, and combined with that, there's a demographic piece. The average age of someone in our industry is actually older than me, which makes me feel good. But it's kind of bad for the industry. The average age of someone is in their mid 50s, and there's
Right.
going to be a big wave of people retiring. And in some ways, that allows for new thinking and for new approaches. And we do find that to be the case in a lot of instances for us. But beyond the staffing and the demographics and that piece, we find a lot of people have put these time-based programs into place,
Yeah.
and they've committed themselves in some way to a plan, and a lot of times they're just not able to achieve that plan, so they're not able to keep up on the maintenance goals of cleaning that they had. And then in certain instances, we see utilities that are under regulatory pressure from a system performance standpoint, too many overflows, not enough maintenance, where they're having to triage or
Right.
prioritize what they do, and all those are cases where we can help.
Yeah.
So.
You had me laughing there. I was grinning anyway. I was laughing inside because I remember when I was selling the SO rat to the cities I was working with, and I would sell it and they'd get it and they start using it. And then I'd get the email, Chad, this thing found collapsed sewers. What did you sell me? It's finding too many problems. What? I was just laughing. I was like, well, that's what we're here for. Find problems so we could fix them, because you didn't know about them, right? They were just ticking time bombs. And that was so great to hear the clients actually finding the problems. However, they didn't understand it. And it was amazing how eventually they understood like the benefits of it, but it took them a little while to transition into that. Anyway, that was a little story I was thinking about in my head. That was
Yeah, and that's what we tell people. This is a screening tool. Very
yeah,
fast, very low cost, low resolution view of blockage in your sewer system. So yeah, it's going to find problems,
right.
but it's also going to find a lot of pipes that aren't problems.
Yeah,
And we find a lot of utilities, especially in the Western US, that have been, I'll say, pressured from a regulatory standpoint to implement very aggressive time based cleaning programs,
yeah,
which are very costly. And they have been significantly over cleaning their system. And in some cases, they find very, very few problems. And so
true.
uh, I think as you migrate east, some parts of the Midwest and definitely the East Coast, you have older infrastructure. In a lot of cases, older cities, and it's a challenge for them to. They don't have the aggressive cleaning protocols that are in place in some places out west, and so over the years that they have a lot more problems to find. But we've certainly found utilities that have very, very few problems, and that's a good thing too.
100%. That's where we want the industry to get to where they don't have as many problems because they found most of them and they fixed them, and they're just using the SL rat as a tool to just and keep following up on the maintenance, making sure there's not getting blockages in there. And it's just a great tool to just inspect sewer systems. It's awesome. Now we have like 3 minutes left. I want to talk a little bit more about InfoSense future, where you guys are going, what the plans are as you guys are moving forward in this. And you kind of touched on like the retirement. We're getting the baby boomers. Even my kids
Hmm.
call me baby boomers nowadays. Retiring, a lot of that intellectual knowledge is leaving these cities. Where do you think InfoSense is going to fit into that down the road?
So I think ultimately what we're providing is information to help utilities objectively figure out where they're going to deploy cleaning and in some cases TV equipment, but most importantly cleaning equipment. And I think that is going to become more and more important as people generational change.
Right.
There's the value of data. In the last 10 years, I've seen a huge change. When we used to go meet with utilities, often they didn't have a GIS department, or they didn't have GIS data,
Right.
or they didn't have a GIS system. And now, very frequently, we have the GIS, some representative from the GIS department in the initial
Meetings.
sales call,
Yeah.
because they want to understand the data and how to process it and how to report out on it. And so I think as that data becomes more important, that's really where we're headed. The equipment we have works well. It's rugged. It's field tested.
Yeah.
Um, we're always making incremental improvements to it, but the value is really helping create kind of a seamless end-to-end uh, ability for someone to go out and collect data in the field,
Yeah.
upload that data to the cloud in some way, and use that information to make decisions about what work order is being created for which cleaning truck on which day,
Yeah.
and using that to inform your next decision, and really to automate your workflow of what people are doing. So I think that's kind of our long-term strategy.
Yep.
That we're trying to do is help make that as seamless as possible. And there's such a heterogeneity of different business processes in municipalities that is challenging to create something that can work for everyone.
Right.
But that's really where we're headed, from the sophisticated big city with city works implementation to the small town that doesn't really have any systems. We're trying to help each one of those use the technology to the best of their sophistication.
Yeah.
That, that's one part, and then I think the other part is that as people have had staffing issues, we have had to focus more on service components, and we have service providers we work with. We're doing more and more service. We're seeing more and more equipment rentals and
Nice.
service as part of this versus people buying the equipment. There's a lot more customers that are just going out and having this done through a contractor, or even in some cases through us.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, look, you guys are revolutionizing the industry. It's a great tool, and I'm kind of biased because I've used it, but it's revolutionizing the industry, and it's really a tool that needs to be in every city's hands for inspecting sewers. 2-man crew, 1-man crew, well, 2-man crew, you need to go out and do it. I was thinking, well, we need transmitter receiver. If anybody wants to get in touch with InfoSense, what's the best way to reach out?
So probably the easiest way to reach out is just to send an email to sales@infosense.com, and
Nice.
we'll make sure that gets to the right manufacturer's representative for your particular area. But you can also call us if you're a little old school. You can call 877 pipe check.
Wow.
And
I didn't know you
yes,
had a fancy phone number. Look at that.
yes, it's 877 747 3245,
Wow.
and it's extension 0 or 1. You will get somebody that can help you with your request.
Awesome.
And if you just want to learn more, you can go to infosense.com, and there's a lot of information on our website.
It is. It's a great website. It's got a lot of just ability to log in and get yourself into the SO Dog site and get your information of where you're searching for sewer problems. So it's a great site to be on. And well, Alex, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you and tell the audience about InfoSense. And thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Chad. I appreciate your time and your questions, and hopefully I've provided some information somebody will find as beneficial.
I feel like we're going to have another conversation at some point in time. That's for sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Chad.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. We hope that this show brought you some insight on relevant topics within the infrastructure world. Please join us every 2 weeks on Tuesday for the next episode. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, please set up a 15-minute interview with your host at calendly.com/Chad Smeltzer.